Okay, today I'm going to be watching a video. I actually haven't watched this video yet, so this is going to be completely interesting to me. But it's only a portion of this video. It's called The Creation Dilemma. It is a video with Free Thinking Ministries and Hayden Carroll. The video is titled, Can an All-Loving God Create Hellbound People? Christianity and LDS Theology with Hayden Carroll. It was made about a month ago. It's about 6,000 to 7,000 views on it. So I am going to play this video. I think it will be interesting to watch, and we'll react to it.
Josh sent me a video where you talked about the moral part of the Trinity. And I guess that's why I wanted to bring up the Trinity first quickly, because there you bring in your creation dilemma, which I was familiar with from some of your other work and your book. But yeah, I guess while we're still kind of connected to the Trinity, I'll just ask you this. Do you think your creation dilemma is a refutation of Trinitarian theology specifically? Or is it really an argument against certain views of creation, foreknowledge, hell, and divine goodness? That is, what exactly does the Trinity have to do with it, do you think?
Yeah, I would say it has to do with the Trinity in as far as those who affirm the Trinity, maybe not all of them, because I actually have met some Trinitarians, all Protestants, because they can commit heresy without being killed. You know what I mean? That's a joke. But the Catholics have a really hard time with this because they can't go outside of their dogma.
Right.
And I will say that most Protestants I meet aren't willing to go outside of these particular attributes of God. So that's all to say, it's not necessarily a critique of the Trinity. I do have a banner, like when I go to Arizona State and I set up my table and I talk to people, it does say the Trinity is evil. And the only reason, and that's to draw people in, because if I said, you know, perfect being theology is evil, like people don't know what I'm talking about, they're not going to sit out. But when I say something that's familiar to them, and to be fair, again, most Trinitarians I talk to will affirm particular attributes of God, and that's what I'm critiquing. So no, my answer to your question is I'm critiquing any God, and this may be the case for Islam and Judaism as well, who affirms that God knows the future, is all-powerful, is unbound, creates from nothing, and where people go to hell. It's those attributes. So if you accept that as a Trinitarian, then yes, but if not, then no.
Yeah, I think you'd have a hard time, like if you were going to go to, say, the Evangelical Philosophical Society conferences that go on every year with that. I would say that those kinds of statements would get excoriated because you'll find just so many different evangelical Protestant Christians who are philosophers who take so many nuanced positions. But I'll say this. I do think your creation dilemma is very strong against particular strands of Protestant Christianity. I think it's very strong against many of the Protestant missionaries that go to Utah in an attempt to convert you. And I would say I think it's a strong argument against Calvinism.
The Calvinists, they kind of just bite the bullet. And actually, the way that I phrase it is the book is not really written.
Okay, so a lot of people will have problems with me. They'll leave in comments. They'll be like, all Protestants are Calvinists, blah, 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 blah. And I know that, obviously, not all Protestants are Calvinists. That's not a unknown thing to me. I've known that Calvinists are very small out of Protestantism, from my knowledge. And they're going to go over Calvinism. I know that for a fact. But creation ex nihilo, the idea that God predestined, in the Calvinist perspective, that God predestined us, and some were predestined elect to go to hell. Some were predestined elect to go to heaven, and those that were predestined unelect to go to hell. So we have no control over that. God created us to damn us. As a Latter-day Saint, if the Calvinist is right, God created us to damn us. So something that I've talked about before is called the evil God hypothesis, is that God, in some Protestant Christianity, mostly Calvinism, you could view God as evil by the way that he has full control and he created you just to damn you and to torture you forever. But that is a very narrow-minded perception. Out of Protestantism, it's still a problem because you have God created from nothing. God chooses not to regenerate me. but it's not the same as Calvinism, is that we're not predestined. So his Holy Spirit isn't moving to regenerate me personally. He's giving me signs, but he's not regenerating me. As a Latter-day Saint, I'm still damned through creation, but I still have a choice in the matter itself. So it's still a lot less nuanced in Calvinism. Calvinism's got more of a problem with answering the evil God hypothesis than Protestantism does. But I do believe that Protestantism will still struggle with trying to figure out the evil God hypothesis. We'll let them continue what they're saying, because I know Hayden's going to be able to dabble in this a lot more than I can. But yeah, let's see where Hayden takes this.
To Calvinists, because Calvinists read the book and they say, yeah, so what? They say,
Yeah.
my God does that and he's still good, which actually just, is addressed in the book. It's God has these attributes and people go to hell. And they add another layer that you guys know that in a way, the way that I say it is God wants them to go to hell.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that all Protestants believe that. That's not my argument. So anyway,
that's true. That's fair.
It's stronger on some worldviews than others, for sure.
Yeah. It would seem to me it's probably strongest against Catholicism is what it would seem to me.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
it is, because they have no wiggle room.
Yeah. Well, we are not Catholic, and we've expressed why we love the Catholic Church, but also why we are not Catholic. And there's reasons for that. But so let me ask you this: is your argument, you think, really about creation ex nihilo? Because suppose I abandon creation ex nihilo tomorrow, and I don't know if you're familiar with the different theories of the soul, but there's one view called traducianism. Are you familiar with that? Okay, so I would say that your argument would work, it seems to me, against some creationist views of the soul, which I have some good friends who would hold that, and I'd like to hear their thoughts on this. Like Dr. Joshua Ryan Ferris is a well-known creationist, but I'd say most Christian philosophers writing on the subject today, like me, J.P. Moreland, Eric Hernandez goes out to Utah quite a bit. We lean traducian, and that means that souls arise through human generation rather than direct divine creation. So I know this is brand new to you, but do you think your argument would work against even a creedal Christian?
Okay, before Hayden responds, I still think, well, that is interesting, that God will have a will and say in the matter of creation, because nothing is created without God's intervention. So like traducianism, I guess, would be applicable if you negated the fact that God had an inspiration in the creation mode itself. Because God, I don't believe God is exhaustive. If you believe God is exhaustive foreknowledge, and you believe that he is all present and all knowing, that means you know that he's going to create. So traducianism would still be, I think, negated in that factor. Mostly because creation out of nothing would still imply that God motivated that creation, even if the soul was, I guess, created through the act of reproduction on the human side of it. God would still have to have his motivation. But let Hayden take over.
Holds to this traducian view that says God does not create all souls ex nihilo.
And then again, I'm not a philosopher. I still am learning about traducianism. I do understand the perspective, but I do not have full exhaustive knowledge about this. So if I do get traducianism wrong, then please comment, talk to me, respond, DM me. I don't care. I want to learn more about traducianism. I think this is extremely interesting. But then again, I do believe there are ways around it and the perspective that he's providing.
And in fact, they would even say the first soul, Adam, if you're going to say Adam and Eve were the first two human souls created in God's image, even those wouldn't be ex nihilo, because it would have been from the image and likeness of God himself. But then every other soul that exists would be contingent in the fact that it was based upon the free choice, at least most of the time, the free choice of parents getting together and and providing offspring. So with that, no, it's brand new, but what do you think?
Do you pronounce it Traducian? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, TRADUCIAN, I believe.
I assume that's the last name of a guy.
Okay, I'm also going to say something really quickly. I don't know, and I need someone to help me with this. Is Jeremiah 1:5, where it says that God, that I knew thee before I formed thee in thy mother's womb, that would still imply that God has exhaustive knowledge of your creation before it happened. So I don't know how traducianists will go around this, but I do think that is interesting. And if someone understands traducianism, and I guess is a believer or philosopher that watches this, please answer that and help me understand that perspective, because I'm still trying to figure that out. Okay.
Guy who made it popular?
Good question.
I don't know. I'm just curious.
I'm not sure on the etymology of it. I think it might just be explaining the position. I think Tertullian was one of the originators of it.
Okay.
I
will say, let me preface my thoughts on this by saying that, again, I think outside of Roman Catholicism, I've never pressed Eastern Orthodox on this. I actually don't know how bound they are by their council. But when I talk to Protestants, I'm not here saying that there's no solves for this dilemma. I'm saying that if you affirm these particular attributes of God, that's where the problem lies. So this position of souls are, if I'm understanding it correctly, souls are created by humans in a way. Is that a fair way to say it?
Hey, we hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. Hey, please do us a favor.
Through creating that soul?
Started the process with Adam and Eve, breathed the image, the likeness into humanity, into human nature. And then through
did he do that through their consent, or did he force them into the creation process?
I would say Adam and Eve did not have a choice whether, and we don't have a choice whether we're going to exist or not either. But yeah, they were the ones that came into existence via the free choice of God.
Yeah.
Okay, so that still implies this idea that God still had knowledge. I don't know, because Jeremiah 1:5 implies that God knew us before creation, that means that he understood that was going to happen anyways. That means he also had all knowledge where our life would go, and based off that creation, we would still, I guess, be damned. I do believe that Protestantism has a little different perspective than Calvinism on God's exhaustive foreknowledge and his control over man's will. But I do believe that there's still answers to Traducianism, if I'm saying that right, irregardless of the fact that that is the perspective that they bring up. I don't remember who it is, but I believe it's in the New Testament. I would have to go over this before I even answer this. But yeah, I think this is interesting. And I guess to close, because this is getting a little wrapped up and they're just going to continue with this perspective from what I understand. Creation ex materia, as contained in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints doctrine, that everything has been gathered and organized from created matter that's already existed. So we don't believe that anything was created out of nothing. So a lot of times Protestants will say, well, you Mormons believe Jesus is created. No, nothing has been created. It's been gathered and formulated. And I do believe that was a early church father perspective. And again, I am a younger kid trying to figure this out. And if anyone has any rebuttals to that or any perceptions or any perspectives, I actually want to know these things. I am a Latter-day Saint and I hold to Latter-day Saint views, and I will fall on Latter-day Saint perspective till the end of probably my life. But I do want to understand things best as possible. So if you have any understandings that are different than me, then please inform me. But creation ex materia seems to be more plausible for our ability to have free will in the matter. I have read a lot about open theism recently, and I do think there is a side of me that is an open theist, because I do believe that humans have free will, a sort of exhaustive free will, but God still can persuade. But there is foreordination, as in like Jesus Christ was foreordained to be the Messiah in that perspective. So I guess, I think this video went well. If you have any questions or if you have any thoughts or opinions or any perceptions on the matter, please reach out or DM me on Instagram and subscribe, like the video, comment. Just please, for the love of all things that are holy, be respectful. Everyone here has their own perception, their own perspective, and I want to be able to provide a space where everyone can do that without having any problems. I do understand we are all very passionate. I'm very passionate. And sometimes I let that passionate side of me get over the loving side of me. But as Jesus Christ said, we should love our enemies and do good to those that despitefully use us. So please be respectful. This is an open board. I want everyone to talk in a very respectful manner, but I also do want the truth to come free. Subscribe if you are not already, and have a good day.